So why do people get more stuck, become more conservative as they grow up? This is something I was thinking about. And it basically starts from the famous, I think it was Winston Churchill quote, who said, if you're in your 20s and you're not a leftist, you have no heart. And if you're in your 40s and you're not with the right, or you're not conservative, you have no brain. Something like that. Basically, this is interesting. Why do people become more conservative, move to the right, more stuck as they grow older? I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about the general things we know about change, innovation, and creativity. What occurred to me is that the more you spend time within a certain set of rules, within certain frameworks, repeating certain actions, certain routines, doing the same thing over and over, the more time you spend within these bounds, the more difficult, the harder it is for you to imagine the world outside them, right? And this is something that I sometimes notice myself doing. So you start looking at the world, taking the image of the world as it is, as the only possibility, because you have been so used to it, so invested in it, and stuck in its minutia, and you find it even harder to go beyond these things. And and this is what most people do. Most people spend their lives progressively doing similar things or the same things over and over and over. And as they do so, their image of the world, their worldview, their conceptualization of life around them becomes smaller and more limited. And as it does that, they find it harder to imagine an alternative state of affairs, right? It's just, if it's not like this, it's chaos. And this is not always true. It is generally true, because most of life's progress is incremental, the state of punctuated equilibrium. Most of life's progress is incremental, but there are periods of fast change, and this is where people suddenly see their world shattering. Everything is falling down, everything is crumbling, and things that you didn't even imagine, you see them materializing. So as this happens, as people get stuck in the same model, they cannot see the world differently. While if you're young, your perspective is fresh, and a bigger chunk of your energy goes to imagination instead of working out the minutiae, which somehow is what you get trained to do if you pursue a mundane, regular, average certain career, right? But here is the catch. If the problem is with the limited perspective, with the lack of imagination, the solution is to actively pursue interests and projects that defy this trend. So, interests and projects that increase the capacity to be creative, to imagine. And this is also very relevant. The more you pursue projects in different disciplines, the more likely you are to have a broader perspective, the more likely you are to be able to see things zoomed out, and the more likely you are to be able to transcend boundaries. And this is where the recommendation that, try to look at different fields, try to do different kinds of projects, take interest in different things, because the world is eventually bigger than the thing you've been stuck in for a while. So this is one way, trying to increase the breadth of your experiences, to preserve your ability to think creatively, to imagine, and to conceptualize a different world, to be more accepting of all the potential there is in the world. Another point is, well, if you're more engaged in the arts, in acts of creativity, acts of cultural creativity, let's say, but not only cultural, just as an example, acts of cultural creativity. So fiction, and I always tell students, read fiction. uh, and I see all these people making fun of people who are interested in the arts, interested in the humanities, and this seems uh, just wrong to me, because if you do that, you sort of, again, this is the point of reading this fiction, transcending your daily life, transcending the boundaries you're stuck in. So if you do read fictions, you get into other people's lives, you automatically get transported into a parallel universe. And there are degrees, of course, from realistic to science fiction to fantasy to realism, magical realism, and so on. But these are all different degrees that can keep your imagination, your creativity fresh. And this would be something interesting to research. Do Because we know that people in general tend to become more conservative as they grow up, as they age. But do people who have different projects, who work in different fields, display a lower rate uh, of moving towards the right? And do people who are actively interested in the arts, in literature, particularly in fiction and which types, do they also themselves display a lower rate of this movement towards the conservative side of the political spectrum as they grow up? This would be something uh, interesting to ponder.